You are welcome to yet another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. We all probably know by now that R. Kelly, the iconic R&B singer whose voice and influence shaped an entire era of music, was a victim of gross privacy infringement by the government during his time detained at the Metropolitan Correctional Center here in Chicago. But what many people still don't fully grasp is the depth of this violation, the deliberate nature of the intrusion, and the carefully coordinated cover-up that followed. This wasn't just a minor administrative slip. This was a calculated move that violated his basic constitutional rights, and it was carried out by government officials who have yet to be held accountable to this day. Let's revisit what actually happened. While R. Kelly awaited trial at the MCC Chicago, which is one of the institutions run by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, a prison official took it upon herself to unlawfully access his private prison communications. These weren't just casual phone calls to friends and family. These included his attorney-client privileged emails and calls, personal conversations that were supposed to be legally protected under the United States Constitution. The law is crystal clear when it comes to attorney-client privilege. It's sacred. It's untouchable. It's the foundation of a fair and just legal system, ensuring that every defendant has the right to consult their legal counsel freely and without fear of government interference or eavesdropping. Yet in R. Kelly's case, this core principle was violated, and not accidentally. The Bureau of Prisons officer responsible for these intrusions wasn't acting randomly or out of idle curiosity. She knew exactly what she was doing. She accessed these private communications without a warrant, without authorization, and in direct violation of federal regulations and constitutional protections. And it wasn't a one-time incident. Reports indicate that this official went back multiple times, over and over again, reviewing, copying and disseminating personal and privileged information about R. Kelly, all while he sat in his cell believing that his confidential legal strategy was secure. Now here's where things get even darker. The identity of this BOP official is known. It's not a mystery. Yet despite this, she has since faced no public prosecution, no significant disciplinary action, and no meaningful accountability. Instead, what happened next reveals just how deep this rabbit hole goes. This official was quietly ushered into an early retirement. A move we strongly believe wasn't coincidental. It was a strategic and protective maneuver. One that conveniently removed her from public scrutiny and shielded her from having to answer tough questions under oath. In what world does a federal employee who committed such a blatant constitutional violation simply get to retire early and walk away unscathed? In what version of justice does this happen? Unless of course there are powerful interests behind the scenes pulling the strings and ensuring that she's kept out of reach, her silence preserved, and the scandal contained. Fans and legal experts alike have been asking this same question for years now. Why did the government choose to ignore this? Why did they behave like nothing was wrong with such a flagrant intrusion into Kelly's attorney-client privacy? The silence from official channels has been deafening, and when silence this loud is maintained, it's usually because there's something or someone they're protecting. And that's where the theory of a coordinated takedown comes in. There's a growing body of evidence, circumstantial though it may be, that suggests very influential people orchestrated the entire R. Kelly takedown. Influential enough to manipulate the careers of government personnel, to arrange quiet early retirements for those who committed unlawful acts, and to shift federal employees around the system like pieces on a chessboard when their presence became inconvenient. Take for instance federal attorney Angel Kroll. Kroll played a key role early on in the government's handling of R. Kelly's case. But not long after certain legal irregularities and ethically questionable tactics began to surface, Kroll too was moved quietly. No fanfare. No public explanation. A job change, a transfer, and a calculated shift. And just like that, another key figure involved in the government's prosecution of Kelly was taken out of the spotlight. Is this standard procedure? Absolutely not. We've seen countless high-profile cases over the years, And when misconduct surfaces, especially misconduct by government officials, it typically triggers investigations, suspensions, hearings, and sometimes even criminal charges. But not in this case. Not when it came to those involved in R. Kelly's legal persecution. In this case, we witnessed the opposite, a strategic pattern of removing individuals from public view the moment their actions became too controversial to defend. And what does this tell us? It tells us that the forces behind R. Kelly's prosecution weren't just interested in bringing him to trial. They were interested in controlling every aspect of the narrative, every leak of information, and every threat to their strategy. And when their own operatives like the BOP officer and Angel Krull became liabilities, they made sure those individuals were quietly dealt with before the public could start asking too many questions. And this isn't the first time we've seen powerful figures manipulate the system to their advantage, but what makes this situation particularly alarming is how blatant the pattern has been and how little the media has covered it. In most cases, the press would be all over a scandal involving government privacy violations, especially when they involve a celebrity of R. Kelly's stature. But here we saw a conspicuous lack of investigative reporting. Very few mainstream outlets gave this incident the attention it deserved. And those that did mentioned it only in passing, as though it was some minor bureaucratic oversight instead of the serious constitutional breach that it actually was. One has to ask, why the silence? Why the reluctance to dig deeper? The answer, we believe, lies in the same web of influence that orchestrated the early retirement, the job changes, and the strategic cover-ups among R. Kelly prosecutors who broke the law. It lies in the fact that R. Kelly was never simply facing a fair trial. From the moment this case began, it was clear that there were vested interests determined to bring him down by any means necessary. And that meant playing dirty when necessary, breaking the rules when convenient, and silencing their own operatives when their actions threatened to expose the larger agenda. And let's be clear, privacy violations of this nature are not small things. When a defendant's attorney-client communications are compromised, it poisons the entire case. It gives the prosecution an unfair advantage, allows them to anticipate legal defenses, and enables them to build counter-strategies using information they should never have had access to. In a just system, such a violation would be grounds for dismissal of charges or at the very least a retrial. But none of that happened in R. Kelly's case. Why? Because the same powerful figures controlling the cover-up were also pulling the strings behind the prosecution. And they weren't about to let constitutional violations derail their carefully constructed takedown of a man whose intellectual property they have robed for years. This isn't speculation. It's a pattern of misconduct. A pattern of quiet exits for those who crossed ethical and legal boundaries. A pattern of transferred attorneys and silently retired officials. A pattern of silence from the media. And a pattern of injustice against R. Kelly that continues to this day. For his fans, supporters, and those who still believe in the importance of constitutional rights, this isn't just about one man. It's about what kind of justice system we're willing to accept. If a celebrity as well known as R. Kelly can have his rights trampled so easily, what does that mean for the average person without fame or fortune? If federal officials can unlawfully access privileged attorney-client communications without consequence, how safe is anyone else's right to a fair defense? This is about far more than one trial, one defendant, or one verdict. It's about accountability, transparency, and the integrity of the justice system itself. R. Kelly's case should have been a wake-up call, a moment for officials to reaffirm their commitment to due process and constitutional protections. Instead, it exposed a system where rules are bent, where operatives are shielded from consequences, and where public narratives are carefully managed to serve private agendas. And so, to those still asking why nothing was done about the privacy violations against R. Kelly, the answer is both simple and chilling. Nothing was done because there were influential figures behind the scenes ensuring that it would be swept under the rug. And until those responsible are held to account, the injustice remains. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.